Hey, welcome back. Welcome to today's live stream. And I am actually also sharing to my regular Facebook page since my TikTok is not, it's weird, it's hooked up, but it's not hooked up through Restream, which so I'm on many different platforms. So if you happen to see me on my business page and my Facebook page, well, I'm trying to reach as many people as possible to promote my online school. And so I've been doing talks that are around the challenges that I'm offering. So, today we're talking about shame and more specifically why so many people feel like they are never good enough, whether it's in their relationships or work or other areas of their life. Now, if you're someone that has your life all together, you can move along. This live stream is not going to be for you. However, shame is a karmic theme that we've all experienced for one reason or another. And this is about integrating the spiritual lesson. So many of my YouTube subscribers have felt this energy of shame in their relationships. And as I said, I have a challenge going on in my school. It's free and it's for people that have attachment problems. And an attachment problem would be being emotionally connected to someone that is incapable of showing you love, someone that is so wounded that they can't. So we might classify those people as someone that's like a narcissist. So many of my YouTube subscribers wind up in relationships with people that are fragmented or just wounded. And when we're talking about wounded, we're talking about spiritual wounded. And what happens when you're spiritually wounded is that you're stuck in a perception about yourself and the world around you. And then you build habits and behaviorisms that are in alignment with those beliefs. So you're the alchemist of your life. You're the healer of your life. But you need to apply information to your life in order to have discernment many times, because many of us were programmed in an environment to make us perceive that we're less than, not good enough. And shame pretty much is rooted in those belief systems. You know what I forgot? I think I need to open up my chat. Started my stream a few times where I forget to open up the chat until I'm like 10 minutes into it. So now it's open. All right. So, like I said, everyone has experienced shame. And if you don't integrate the spiritual lesson, you're going to wind up seeing that karmic theme over and over and over and over and over in your life. So my live streams always have a little bit of a topic, and as obviously today is shame, and I will do a little talk on it, and then I jump into the oracle reading just so that you guys know the structure. And then there's Q&A. Hey, Deanna. Hey. So I just wanted to do a little topic on shame, and that's for my attachment rewiring challenge, which is free. It's free to join my school. The challenges are free. The live streams are free. The Q&A are free. The messages are free. But the group shadow healing life coaching, which feels individualized, but it's not. It's just more affordable and accessible because coaching is really expensive. I also do one-to-one coaching, but a lot of people really can't afford to maintain. And if you've gone through severe trauma, you have to recondition yourself. It's not going to be a one and done, especially if you're 30, 40, 50, you've been walking around with the same belief systems and habits and behaviorisms that go with those belief systems for a long time. So you have to recondition yourself. People that have gone through severe trauma have to recondition their nervous system. and they suffer from detachment. And detachment is when the trauma is so bad they're not even in their body. So, integrating the spiritual lesson for a lot of people is not just having the new awareness, it's actually embodying a whole other consciousness so you can see a different reality for yourself. So, anyway, getting back to shame, shame is connected to our stomach. Like you can feel when you have experienced shame, and your stomach is literally connected directly to your nervous system. Good time regime dealing with it. I think that a lot of people have shame. I mean, that's what life, we're down here in physical form to learn and to manifest. So we're given the life experiences by the families that we're born into and the environments, and we all have to experience. So it's not really what happens, it's how we deal with what happens. A lot of people don't deal with shame. What happens is that they detach from it because it doesn't feel good, because it affects your nervous system, it affects your stomach, it affects your heart. Like you feel constricted, and over time it affects your body. The body curls inward and the adrenals are triggered to the point that your nervous system shuts down into freeze state. It is actually a full body experience tied to your identity, which is why I need to talk about it. Because listen, I saw my dad had cancer 8 times, and it's because he experienced shame. He was a good man. He was a smart man. He skipped grades in school. You know, other people don't need to perceive us as shame. It's a personal thing a lot of times, but again, it's tied to your identity, and then your habits and your behaviorisms are going to be in alignment with that energy, and then it's going to be next to impossible to manifest financial abundance, safety, and security, because you don't perceive yourself as good enough, worthy, because of an experience. Hey, Angel, welcome. So, I mean, that's why it's such a deep uh, topic, and no one wants to talk about shame. Shame is an uncomfortable experience, but if we don't understand it, we don't know how to integrate it. And shame is actually the energy that is manifestation energy. Like you turn pain into power when you integrate shame. So many people that wind up going to jail or wind up with having addiction problems or whatever, they turn their life around. And don't tell me that they haven't experienced shame. They've experienced shame to the point that they wound up in jail, or they wound up because it's how they felt about themselves. So people can feel shame on different levels, obviously. But the irony is, whether you feel shame a lot or a little, it doesn't matter. Just the same way as God says, well, a sin is a sin. You think that your lie is not as bad as killing a person. In the eyes of God, all sin is bad. We tend to say, oh, it's not as bad, because our society says that it's not that bad. But again, in the eyes of God, it's bad. And really, we're down here in physical form to learn that there's no separation between us and our Creator. But when we live the same energy as shame, obviously now we're thinking, no, I'm defective. There's something wrong with me. And like I said, that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is it winds up affecting your body. People that have rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, it's attack on the nervous system. It's attack on the body. See, everything happens in the spiritual realm long before it happens in the physical realm. You're only in physical form to learn and to manifest. You're Leo and I, 1 year separated. Oh, been married for 48 years. Yeah, that's a thing. It's like we all have. And let me tell you, there's nothing like these karmic relationships. Like we see it all the time in karmic relationships. And that energy of shame, both parties have it. And it's usually they came into the relationship with that energy. So when you see codependent relationships, that's how you know, because codependent, there's fragmentation there. Two people that feel inadequate, two people that feel like there's something wrong when there's really nothing wrong. It's the experiences. We're not our experiences, you know. And the thing is, it's not only do we hold it in our body, but people can actually sense it. They can sense it. It's how we're holding our posture. It's how the words that we use. It affects every area of our life because unconsciously. So, and no, it's a spiritual wound that just, again, needs to be integrated and transmuted because it is something so much deeper than just the experiences of who you were married to or who you were dating or what happened. It affects the spirit. So the energy of shame affects your thoughts, your emotions, your attachment patterns. So when someone is separated from their like person, I feel like a lot of times we need to look at the attachment patterns. That's the most important thing because love, the energy of love, like you can't destroy it. See, that's the thing. If someone loves you, they can love you, but not want to be with you because of, again, whatever attachment patterns. So in separation, like people will know that, but let's just say the relationship is over. You would not want to attach to the same type of person that you've dated before. That's the whole point. Again, it's to integrate the spiritual lesson so you get a different outcome. Otherwise, you go into the relationship and you say, well, I really thought that marriage was going to last forever, and it didn't. So now I don't trust. Now I don't trust me. So that's my issue with you, Deanna. Like, that's not to point my finger on you, but I'm gonna, because like I said, it's whoever needs the advisory is who I'm going to give it to. And so you need to integrate that energy because you don't want to repeat that. You can have what you want. The illusion is that you can't have it. And the worst part of it is trying to start in a new relationship and then going into the relationship looking for problems. So it's to build yourself up strong first. And I talk about this a lot on YouTube, about making sure that you create yourself, that means get a life. Make sure that you have a life that's connected to hobbies and interests and passions that needs to happen, especially while like you're going through this separation. Because understand, part when people get separated a lot of times and it's not a full divorce, it's like, well, we're kind of like working things out. So if you stay the same, your relationship is obviously not going to be like, the person's not going to come back. They're not. And I'm going to say, because they're going to say, well, I don't have to think about you, you're always there. And this is kind of what I'm feeling for you. So you have to do it for yourself to emotionally fulfill you because you're connected to someone that's not doing it, and that's the thing. The shame cause Leo to be, well, I think, I like, is he a Leo? I mean, I think that it's people that experience shame, they are narcissists because they become their shame, and if they don't have an identity. That's what I was saying in the beginning of this live stream, that it's not just, it's a full body experience, but it becomes a person's identity. And that's when you're going to see um, someone that's detached, and they're not going to care as much about you. So, I don't think it matters whether or not what horoscope, you know. People tend to get caught up in the horoscope. I think that you could be any horoscope and be brought up with in abuse and become a narcissist, you know. Well, and Virgos tend to be, if you're a typical Virgo, you tend to like give a lot. So understand, like I said in the beginning of this, it's that codependency in the beginning where you feel like you gave so much of yourself, and now there's like again this person that like is gone, so you're left with like, well, what's left? And that's why I said you have to give it to yourself, because there's a sense that this person thinks, oh, I already know who you are. I already know who you are, you know. And like when a person knows who you are, then they get comfortable. So you have to show them another side of you. And that's not just to be like screw you, but it's so that you feel yourself on an emotional level. And what you'd be surprised is that people will say, I like being around you, Deanna. I like being around you. And you need that because you're not getting it. And then you're not making that person so comfortable, because that person is too comfortable. Narcissists tend to look for givers. There are signs in the beginning of a relationship. Person doesn't just turn narcissist. They came into the relationship as a narcissist. They just had imposter syndrome. They showed you a reality that you wanted to see, and that was by studying you and becoming you. And understand, if a person has shame, they haven't created a life. They have experiences that made them feel not good about themselves, because the shame is what is not going to make you not feel good about yourself. And it's an energy that needs to be integrated. If it's not integrated, we will continue to live experiences like that. And so we see self-sabotaging behaviorisms come from shame, such as addiction. You know, people people that have severe anxiety, people that feel like there's something wrong with them because they're viewing themselves as their experience. It's not their experience. But what's most important is not about the person, it's about how shame has affected you. Because from being with a person that has shame, unfortunately, you will take on some of that person's karmic debt. See, karmic debt is just for every action there's a reaction. And so when we're out of alignment with the laws of God, the laws of love, the laws of nature, and the laws of the universe, they're all the same thing. Then what happens is that there's karmic debt, you know, and that's why, well, that's the thing. It's to regain your self-confidence and definitely heal your nervous system. So did you sign up for what you need to sign up for my free attachment rewiring challenge? Because this challenge, we do nervous system regulation. We haven't started that yet because we're on, I think we're only on our third week. So, but people sign up all the time. So you go to the school and you do the attachment rewired. This is how you heal yourself. And this is because it's not just about healing yourself by taking time off and away and trying to find yourself, but it's again saying, why did that happen? Why did that happen? You always have to ask yourself, well, why did that happen when you don't like what happens? A lot of us want to react. And so we don't react because the answer, you're always having a relationship with God through everyone and everything all the time. Sometimes we're like, I don't really like the conversation that I'm having, a lot of times. But it's because, we wouldn't be aware. We wouldn't be aware of what we needed to heal. So your husband uses silence. Yeah, well, that's emotional manipulation. And somebody that, emotionally is detached And you're also someone that overgave and overdid. And so there's a sense of, I don't really need to. And you were dependent on him, dependent financially. And that's the worst thing, because narcissists, they can't give emotionally. They try to give financially. They try to give. So if you're dependent on that, then you're dealing with financial abuse a lot of the times. Because again, it's no one wants to do what a narcissist wants them to do all the time, because they don't care about what your needs are. They care about what their needs are. So you're always kind of fighting. You're always like grasping for the carrot almost. And that's because they don't know how to sustain themselves, a narcissist. See, on an emotional level, we have to be able to sustain ourselves, and we do that by becoming the energy of love. So, Deanna, like when I said you need to go out and join things and to connect to people, even though you might say, I don't trust myself. No one's telling you to be in a relationship. But when you join things that you like, that you're interested in, well, you're going to meet people. Relationships are something that happens over time. Trust is something that happens over time. And so it's about learning to trust yourself again. And so no one trusts themselves. What we trust is the God that's inside of us. Because only in the now do you get divine guidance, right? Through gut, intuition, inner knowing. So the Holy Spirit is always with you. It's that we perceive that there's separation from us and our creator. And what happens is that you were wired in an environment, and your attachment to what was normal was obviously someone that was avoidant. So you didn't recognize the signs. But if you heal your nervous system, and then you'll recognize the signs. See, the problem is that when we didn't have the support, neither person that's on right now that I'm talking to, that's showing up, because I see that there's more people that are actually on, but I only see you two on. And so the irony is both of you did the same thing and need to do the same thing. That financial codependency, that's where your fragmentation would be. So feeling like, well, I'm not good at anything. And if a person had to grow up in survival mode, where you both kind of did, then you weren't allowed to find yourselves. In the Bible, it says, be like childlike. Children go out and play. They find themselves through trying things by, and if they have the support, their parents are like, oh, look how great you are, like from whatever little thing that they do. But if parents are detached and they're dealing with their own trauma, or they're just not available emotionally, then the child winds up becoming very parentified. And if they were brought up in an environment where they were belittled, and they were, psychologically and emotionally abused, well, then you were wired to to be able to put up with a lot. So there were telltale signs in the beginning of the relationship you just didn't see. And part of that is the money, the money thing, because money has no energy except for the energy that you give it. So if we're not really connected to a passion, to something that we love, then we're gonna not really feel like we're good at anything. We can get a job. It's not like we can't get a job, but it's gonna be a job that's not really gonna sustain us. We're always gonna feel like there's something missing. So you trust yourself, like through connecting to that higher self. And that higher self is that God part of self inside of you, that it connects you to discernment. So the thing is, you were wired in an environment, you were around someone that made you not trust yourself. So without a daily regiment, yes, well, that's what I was said. And also Angel too, that same situation. That's why I said the irony. But that's, without reconditioning your nervous system, you're not going to be able to get over it. And the reason why is because you were wired in an environment. So anxiety is a real thing. And a person that has anxiety has a very hard time uh, between being able to tap into their higher self, which is their intuition, or their emotions. And so you have to recondition, and that's through doing breath work and cold plunges and uh, do my, again, the attachment rewired, because I do nervous system regulation exercises. It's learning how to work with your nervous system, and it takes time. Understand, every master starts off as a disaster. It's like, we don't know. The path unfolds while you're on it. It's a co-creation process. It's one way you do have to be true for yourself, but you have to make sure that you do things differently and understanding. And that's what these live streams and the challenges are for. It's to create awareness, to do things differently. And with all things, you can do everything. With God, you can do everything. But the thing is, the separation from God is what's making you perceive that I can't have love, because really God is just the energy of love. It's the energy of unconditional love. So the separation from that, and that includes when we don't like ourselves. And shame, really, that it affects us. We don't like ourselves because of that energy. That's why it's detrimental. Spiritual warfare is actually that when we turn against ourselves because we don't like ourselves because of relationships or because of financial issues, or again, whatever the perception is. And the war on consciousness is actually happening now. So we have to understand that shame is really important because it shapes how you see yourself, how you show up in relationships, and what you tolerate, what you chase, or just overgive to. It is a difference between feeling like secure within yourself or constantly seeking validation from other people. And this is a lot of times how like a narcissist can read you. It's like whether you're secure or not, the words that you use. Remember, narcissists are strategic, they're mental, and they're not emotional. They're detached from their emotions. Their power resides in the fact that they can emotionally cling on to you. So if you're not balanced and you're starved because you were in a desert, meaning you didn't get emotion and you're not giving yourself, well, then that's what's going to happen. I think it's a combination. I think you have to do a combination of healing. It's not just one thing. It's a combination, because like I said, it's a body, mind, and spirit thing. So the cognitive therapy is important, but then there's also um, the reconditioning of the nervous system, changing core beliefs, listening to spiritual material, understanding how. See, the thing is, when there's fragmentation, you're a spiritual being, right? And as a spiritual being, if you have fragmentation, you you can attract negative spirits. So I believe narcissists always have attachments, negative attachments to them. And you can see within their behaviorisms, you say, how does that person not really care? Like at all, especially if you were married for 30 something years. Come on, this isn't like a year, this is 30 something years. You have to have some sort of emotional connection, and you can say, no, the person really doesn't care. And that, so to me, that is an attachment that the narcissist gets worse over time, because they always wind up alone too, because they're always chasing for the next best thing, because they can't sustain themselves. When I say sustain, I mean emotionally fulfill themselves. And so they have to look for someone that they perceive that can give to them So that's what it is. Yes, I know I'm right. And that's why I'm telling you. It's like why you have to do this for yourself. You have to do it, and to the most important thing is to get the best connection to God, because we have no control over our environment. The environment will always tell you who they think that you should be, where they think you should go. And if you don't have discernment, then you're in trouble. Then you can be very easily manipulated. And so it's all about that. Hey, Buffalo Billy, good to see you again. So we're talking about shame today. That's the topic. And I was saying how, shame is a full body experience, and how it shows up in our body, mind, and spirit. But also, most importantly, um, how we start, how we can like interrupt it. So it stops unconsciously running our relationships and running our lives, right? Because it's not just important. And that's okay. I'm glad that you're here. Listen, I'm glad that you become part of the community. You need the support. Everybody needs support. Everybody needs a place to go, come and vent, and be like, this is like a mind fuck. A lot of times we get stuck because we're dealing with situations, and that's the thing. You want to try and stay as emotionally balanced as possible. That's the key, so that you're not swayed one way or the other. And that's the biggest thing with trauma. A lot of times people react from that traumatic experiences, and narcissists love to do that. It's all about the reaction. No one sees all the nonsense before that. It's that. So that's why I'm saying getting really connected to the physical body is important, so you can do that with the breath. So if like I said, so if you ever felt like you have not been enough, like, then this is going to be the class for you. And to me, I just feel like everyone has felt that way, right? Everyone has felt not good enough, like they have to prove themselves, or like they keep repeating the same patterns in love. Obviously, it's like you'll be able to connect the dots. You'll be able to like see how it all like fits in. And that's the thing, because like spiritually, it's there's just so many reasons that people can feel like they are never enough in relationships. So it does not just about what has happened or what did happen. It's not because something is actually wrong. It's because there is such a deeper emotional pattern that is running underneath their relationships that most people never really learn how to identify or interrupt. We're not educated about the emotions. The pattern like of shame, where we don't talk about how to work with the energy, but really when we're talking that you're the alchemist of your life, what I'm talking about is actually taking that energy and turning it into power. It's doing something, because as long as you're holding on to the energy of shame, you're identifying with that energy. And unconsciously, habits and behaviorisms are going to come out. So it's not just feeling you experience in a certain moment. Shame is like, again, psychological conditioning, a nervous system response, and an emotional imprint that shapes how you see yourself, how you attach to other people, and how you behave in relationships. So, as I was saying, like with the attachment rewiring, we are in week 3, and this week is about the attachment style. So, but you cannot understand attachment style without understanding what is underneath them. Attachment styles are not personality traits. They are survival strategies. The nervous system develops in response to emotional experiences. And the root of most of these strategies is shame. So you may ask yourself what shame really is. Shame is the internal belief that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. So that's like what I said, when there's fragmentation, we're saying that. Yeah, NLP is I do that too. It's like a form of cognitive therapy. Some people say that it doesn't work. Some people, there are a bunch of um different healing modalities to help you, again, to see like what your core beliefs are. And like I said, it's all about reframing the core beliefs. So you are not your experience. And a lot of times an experience happened, but when we look at the experience from a different perception, we can see how maybe it wasn't our fault, you know? That's the thing, though, Deanna, like trying to help him when you actually need to help yourself. That's how you will see the codependency. Most people that have codependency, it's like they're going to help on an emotional level, while the other person is helping on a financial level, and the other person's holding the finances over, and then you wind up losing yourself. That becomes your identity. And that's how a narcissist wants it, because you're the one that's pretty much doing everything in the relationship. And that's the thing, because the other person, that narcissist, cannot emotionally show up. They cannot sustain themselves. So when I was saying codependency, I was saying that it's two people that grew up in the trauma, and you agreed. And then I said, when you don't create yourself, you become the shame. And that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is the habits and the behaviorisms that are sabotaging. Because, like I said, the energy of shame needs to be integrated. You're not shame. Anything that keeps us perceiving that we're separate from our creator, separate from love, separate from God. And so it becomes distorted. It distorts your perceptions about yourself, the world around you, and what you believe that you can have, opposed to like what you're actually manifesting. So, again, over time, the nervous system begins to make meaning out of these experiences, because you're conditioning your nervous system too when you go through these experiences over and over and over again. So you remember in the Bible it says what we resist persists, meaning you got to learn the spiritual lesson. You're going to have it over and 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 over again. And that is what really we wind up really conditioning ourselves when that happens. So instead of thinking I was not emotionally supported, the mind begins to actually conclude again that there is something wrong with you. It doesn't look at the experience, doesn't look at what happened. So that's why the cognitive therapy is important. The cognitive therapy is really important. And yes, you would have to go no contact with a person like that, because they don't understand, and they're not going to look at anything until you cut the energy off. And then a lot of times they still don't want to look at it. This is more about control and dominance. So, what's most important too is to realize that when you're in a relationship with somebody that makes you feel shame. And I saw this happen firsthand with my dad, because my dad, I mentioned last time, when Buffalo Billy was like 8 times. Yeah, my dad had cancer 8 times, and because he was with a narcissist. He was with a narcissist that made him feel horrible about himself. He was drunk all the time to deal with it. He couldn't deal with it. And so, you have one person that's so emotional because they're not getting anything, and they came into the relationship fragmented. And then you have this other person that tried to be the fixer, and then, so we see the imbalance, but you get sick. No one talks about this. And I shared a story last time also about this girl that I saw that literally was with the wrong guy. And like the last time I saw it on Facebook, they were throwing her ashes in the water, because again, how horrible she felt. I mean, cancer comes from this type of energy, holding on to, because it's such heavy energy. Shame is not just psychological, it's stored in the body. So when shame is activated, the whole nervous system shifts into survival response. Some people actually collapse inward. Some people shut down emotionally. Some people freeze and disconnect. And many people go into what is called the fawn response, which is just people pleasing, overgiving, and over explaining in order to maintain connection, which is where you were, Deanna, and what you used to do, Angel. That you both used to do that, and so this is what trains the narcissist. Oh, you're not that secure within yourself. Okay, I know what I need to do in order to, and because remember, people are reading, so getting you to do more, to be the people pleaser, and this is how you abandon yourself. So remember, if you abandon yourself for a relationship, the relationship will never last, because the number one law is don't abandon yourself, because God's inside of you. So if you abandon yourself, you abandon God. God says, me first. I'm a jealous God. That's do you first. And so a lot of times people abandon themselves, and then they wind up like in this, like feeling like they have a big hole where like they gave to this person, when meanwhile the person never really existed. The person was a imposter. When they're a narcissist, narcissists don't have identity. They think that they're their shame. They think that there's something wrong with them. That's the thing. Hurt people hurt people. We tend to get caught up in how horrible the narcissist is, but we look and see that narcissists are brought up in environments where they were either abused or so self-entitled, but usually abuse is what happens. So the fragmentation is that I can't sustain myself. No one likes me. They tend to be able to make money. Many narcissists that you see, they make a lot of money. They know how to work with that energy, but they don't have good relationships. There's a disconnect there, so they feel inadequate. They feel like there's something wrong with them, and they always wind up picking people that's the life of the party. Everybody likes that person. Everybody likes that person. So they need to be with someone that has a good job. It looks a certain way, again, because they're identifying with that person. Because we know that narcissists act as if they're extensions of their people that they're with. So it's really important, like, that they're with somebody that looks good. So psychopaths too, met a lot of them. Yeah, that's the thing. They're like you have to be in that type of emotional energy. Spiritual energy is emotional energy. It's like it's connected to love. It's connected to empathy, sensitivity. So it's where we have to be that way. But unfortunately, we have to find our balance living in the real world. And so that's why a lot of times you see highly sensitive people wind up with people that are non-emotional. It's because, again, it's all about balance, learning how to work with both energies, because God is both energies. God is logical and analytical, but it's also spiritual and, creative energies. So because you already know, like, whatever you don't heal, whatever you don't integrate, just keeps happening over and over and over and over again. That's why you find yourself, like I said, winding up not realizing what happens in the relationship is that people that have severe trauma, they always overextend in their relationships. They stay in situations so much longer than they should, and they feel anxious when someone pulls away instead of actually like feeling calm, and it's because of how you were conditioned. So your body is not reacting to the present moment alone. As I said, you always get triggered back to the original time. See, that's what a trigger is. A trigger is telling you, hey, this experience has happened before. So we wouldn't emotionally react. When someone emotionally reacts, you know that you're triggered. They're triggered. That you're either triggering them or they're just triggered. So that's again anywhere of separation. That person kind of believes it. Now they'll fight and they'll say that they don't believe it, but we see again that trigger. Now, triggers are not just will come out emotionally, but again, they come out in the behaviorism. So if you were brought up in an environment where love was conditional, where you were taught to overgive, 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 otherwise you were ignored or belittled or whatever, then we're going to take those energies into and those behaviorisms into the relationship and unconsciously teach the new person how we were treated, even though you don't want to be treated that way. And the reason why is because your actions really do create neurological pathways in your brain. So there was little grooves. So, and we all go in and out of consciousness. The more trauma that a person has experienced, actually, the more non-awake that they are. So where are they? They're like, again, in their imagination. They're up in their head. So when a person gets triggered, it's because they're either triggered by an outside stimuli, someone saying something, or a thought. So that neurological pathway is what creates an automatic behavior where it's like, oh, I just reacted. So the thing is, we don't want to make our future or present moment look the same as our past of the trauma. So again, the most important thing is that connection to the physical body and being able to connect to that higher self that's inside of you. That's what gives you supernatural power. That's what allows you to quantum jump into an actual reality that you want to experience. Because there's many different realities that play out at one time. But if you're stuck in a shame loop, well, you don't want to be stuck in a shame loop because that's horrible. It's like for reasons that I explained already. So you definitely want to break that karmic cycle. So you have to say, well, when was the first time that experience happened? And that's where like the cognitive therapy comes in when we do reframing exercises. Anyone can do a reframing exercise. They can just download a template off the internet, and you reflect back to like let's just say you have to see your husband, Deanna, right? And for whatever reason, and the person makes you angry, or any of you, whoever you're dating makes you angry, is to journal about it. And then again, say, when was the first time that I felt this way? And what you'll notice when you journal, the karmic theme is usually not good enough, not worthy. I mean, shame is all about lack, feeling like there's something wrong with you. And so feeling defective, feeling not good enough, feeling, again, those energies, that's why it's so heavy. And so, and that's why overextending, there's a sense of I'm not good enough. I have to do in order to be loved. And then you don't realize that unconsciously you're showing a person and then you're like, all I was nice. Yes, but if you are nice to people that don't earn that, it's like, unfortunately, people think that you're weak. People think, well, why are you so nice? People like to work for what they feel is valuable. And so when you're so nice and you're always available, it's like then people, they just don't appreciate you. And the thing is, you could have been wired to, again, be nice. It's a survival mechanism to be overly nice. But then what happens is you're not forming your identity. So children don't form their identity when they are shamed all the time. Though they begin to think that they're flawed, and then they try to be perfect. And so obviously there's no such thing as perfect, but then the child looks for the answer outside of themselves to become perfect because they feel like they can't have love. When meanwhile, we are the energy of love. So it's impossible not to have love when you are the energy of love, and God makes that so. So integrating the spiritual lesson is the biggest thing. Oh, good. Sometimes you hit something, but that's okay. You can always rewind this because it's going to be up on YouTube. So I mean, these educational ones that are interactive for you guys. So this is why said with the attachment rewiring challenge, it's not just the challenge where you have to do exercises, but understanding each and every spiritual blockage on a psychological level. Because on a psychological level, shame just creates a deep belief that your systems about your worth and identity are flawed. So you begin to believe things like, I have to earn love. If I'm not good enough, I will be left behind. Or if someone pulls away, it means that I did something wrong. There's something wrong with me. These beliefs operate beneath conscious awareness. Again, this is why I'm saying it's like they're unconscious at this point. And it's because you had to suppress what you really felt for a long time. So you do not usually think about them directly. You feel them as emotional truth. That is why it's confusing. And because the mind is always trying to protect you from pain, it starts scanning for rejection, disapproval, or signs that you're not enough. And this creates overthinking, anxiety in relationships, and a constant need for reassurance and clarity. So, like I said, when you need the constant reassurance, then people, again, they tend to look at you like, well, you're not securing yourself. So, just on an emotional level, also, it does havoc because, again, shame creates attachment and dependency issues. So, you begin to attach not just to people, but to emotional experiences, especially inconsistency. Hey, Ghost Grows. Towards your plants, sending positivity towards your plants. Oh, your little weed plants, cute. Give them love. Give them love. Okay, so remember that it also like conditions your body, not just through again the neurological pathways, but it creates highs and lows. So it can feel like connection even when there's actually dysregulation. And that's so people don't even know again. And that's really what it is. It's not love. It's your nervous system trying to resolve uncertainty. So shame also creates emotional over responsibility. You don't begin to feel like you are responsible for how other people feel, how they respond to you, and that's really what needs to be fixed. And that's what I was saying before, Deanna, like that's the biggest thing. It's like shame creates like this over responsibility, like you have to be responsible for everybody else's mood. So you begin to feel like you're responsible for how other people are gonna like feel, how they respond to you, and whether they stay connected to you. So you just overgive, over explain, and again, this is how people read you. So it's an actual emotional response. That's why doing the body mind work, somatic healing, the cold plunges. I'm going to be starting a cold plunge challenge soon. Now you can start by doing cold showers. It's all about the breath work. It's all about reconditioning the nervous system. I mean, you really also need to obviously understand the spiritual element, and shame just affects your spiritual identity. Just on a spiritual level, shame disconnects you from your authentic self. Instead of living from your inner truth, you begin to live from, adaption. So you become a chameleon a little bit because, again, you're not strongly rooted in anything. See, remember, we get strongly rooted to our passion. to a hobby, to an interest. Children go out and they find that. If children were conditioned to believe that there was something wrong with them, or again, the parent was not available, and it's not a blame game, but we have to understand on some level, where did it come from? Because you have to bypass the reptilian mind, and the reptilian mind is the survival mind. So it wants proof. It wants proof. It's not just going to change. You're not just going to change. Things are automatic for a reason, and that's if you've conditioned yourself due to a perception that you weren't safe or felt like you weren't enough. So, like I said, getting this better connection to the body is really important, because like I said, over time it just creates like such a loss of self-trust that you stop listening to your intuition and you start relying on external validation to determine your worth and your direction. And then if you're with a narcissist, that's clearly gonna make you not feel well at all. And so we don't need to just be connected to a narcissist. Well, we're also teaching people that it's okay to disrespect us, where you say, well, the relationship didn't start that way, it became that way. And that's because unconsciously the energy of shame, it affects you on every level. That's why we're doing this live stream, so you have to also understand how, attachment styles are formed from shame in order to not repeat it, especially for those of you that are saying, I know my marriage isn't going to work out. Deanna, I feel like you're sitting on the edge now of pretty much saying that it's not going to work out. And that's fine, but it's to not say, well, I'll never be with anyone ever again, if that's not really what you want, because you feel like, well, I'm not safe. That's the thing. Safety comes from learning how to trust yourself. And it starts with little things. That's why I said, when you're interactive in your environment, your gut, your intuition is leading you, and you'll see those small wins. And small wins are, oh, well, look, things are working out. That's how you trust yourself. Pride and ego is standing in his, well, and that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, you can't change a person by saying change. The way that a narcissist changes, to be honest with you, if they want to change, is the fact that they're connected to someone that changes. And that's usually when you're like, I don't give a shit anymore. And you really cut your energy off. That's when you cut the supply off. Until then, this person's not going to react. They're so happy that you're mad. They're so happy that you're like, oh, their pride and ego. They're like, oh yeah, look, I'm mad, because they don't care how they steal your energy. An energy vampire is an energy vampire. They're going to drain your energy by stealing it, by making you mad. So the best thing that you could do is take your energy and put it towards yourself. Because this person doesn't really think that if they left, they're like, well, you know what? You're not going anywhere. You're hurt. We've been together 36 years. Where are you going? I know what you do. I know when you do it. I know how you do it. We've been together for so long. You're like clockwork. And remember, the narcissist likes variety. They get bored. So because they can't sustain themselves. So remember, it's like the best thing that you could do is to be so interactive in your life, because even if you're not going to ever take that person back, it's like the new person that comes into your life, you're teaching them, I'm not always available for you. It's like, I'm busy. You have to, people like me. I invest in me. It's because codependency feels right when you are codependent. So it has to be. But again, focus on your business and your small business. That means networking. That means joining things, because how are you going to grow your business? So again, it's about, the focus can be on business. That's great. But then networking and having a reason to interact with people, which is great. So, because you want to promote yourself, and there's an actual grounded force. So you're not sharing about like your love life. You're not sharing about personal things. You never really want to do that with people that you've just met. People that start relationships, they get into the new relationship and they tell the person all the horrible things that happened in the previous relationship, and then you've just told that person how to screw you over pretty much. You're like, I don't understand. How many times I've heard that from people? I don't understand. I told them exactly what happened and they did the same thing. And it's because, if you're going to build the relationship on that, you have to build the relationship on experiences, and the experiences, like, both parties are contributing energy wise. So that's how you start. If you notice, in the beginning, most of the time, the relationship was never that way. The relationship's always, the person came in handicapped. The person came in like after like their relationship didn't work out, or there was some traumatic thing. And so, that's the thing. And they'll, but they're signs. But if you're not balanced, you're not going to see those signs. So red flags with you, like you like that. I just keep her no red flags. I don't understand what you're saying. So, I was saying how attachment styles like form because of shame. When you combine the body, mind, and emotional and spiritual layers, you can really like see how the attachment style forms. But I'll break it down. Anxious attachment forms when love feels inconsistent and the nervous system learns that connection must be pursued in order to be maintained. So you have a person that makes you pretty much chase them. Avoidant attachment forms when closeness feels overwhelming or unsafe, and the nervous system learns that distance is the only way to stay regulated. Unfortunately, a lot of times you'll see that the universe brings together an anxious attachment and an avoidant attachment. And it's hopefully to create some sort of balance, because love is healing. It makes us change. Now we're going to change 100%, no, but we can balance out. And the thing is, then the really confusing one is the disorganized attachment. And that forms when love is both desired and feared at the same time. So you see this when you're in a relationship with a push-pull dynamic. So it feels really confusing and unstable, like where you're like, okay, why am I in this relationship that I feel like I'm in this tug of war with? That's another sign of this attachment style. So growing up parentified, that's why that would happen. Person's like, well, I don't want to lose all control, but they have a desire for love. So none of these are character flaws, by the way. They're all adaptations built from emotional conditioning and really unresolved shame. That's why all these attachment styles. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because we continue to see it. So when you keep repeating your relationship patterns, hey Selma. So when you continue like to see this happen within your relationship patterns, this is where most people get stuck. They think they are repeating patterns because they are making bad choices. But the truth is that your nervous system repeats what's familiar. Because what's familiar, it associates with just safer, even though it's not. A lot of times familiarity, just like I said, it's what we're used to. So you're not choosing the same. You have to, again, recondition your nervous system to be able to be able to differentiate, because you want to be able to choose a person because you like feel emotionally attached. I feel like if everybody has attachment, if you're with a person, like I said, that has the avoidant, it's which narcissists usually do, it's because you also have the attachment of anxious. So you like were conditioned in an environment maybe to not get at all. And this person did or they didn't. It doesn't matter whether they were spoiled or whether they were not. Either way, there's an imbalance there. And so the imbalance just means how the person learned how to deal with that perception. But it doesn't mean that you don't have one. You have an attachment like imbalance too. If you were balanced, you would have been able to tell who that person was right from the beginning. That's why I said it was determined by what was familiar to you. And familiar, like I just said, is not the best all the time, especially if you grew up with abusive parents or you grew up like with avoidant parents. It'll feel familiar. But it's again, you'll relive the same karmic theme, which being connected to an avoidant is the person never shows up for you on an emotional level. So you pretty much feel like you're in a relationship by yourself. And so, and they know that it bothers you. And if anything, they tend to get off with it. So, like I said, in the attachment rewiring challenge, we have nervous system regulation practices. So your body can actually learn that what safety feels like instead of constantly living in survival mode. See, a lot of times people don't even know what it feels like to be relaxed, which is great. So, I mean, that's the thing. So when you use like mind mapping also, you can see the full connection between your emotional experiences and your beliefs and your behaviorisms. So this is how transformation happens, not through just insight alone. So, I mean, we can do, live streams all day long, but without the integration process, you pretty much can't stop identifying as the actual shame. You begin to recognize the old patterns, however, when you do the exercises, because you'll see when they get activated under certain conditions. And instead of obeying it, you begin to pause. That's what training the nervous system does. We're not reactionary. We pause. We stop. We're in the moment. We observe, and we can choose differently. So you start responding from awareness instead of survival. This is what rewiring actually is. It's not perfection. It's not elimination, but it's actually interrupting the repetition with the awareness, like I said. So that's the thing. Well, you can't, that's the thing. You sound like you're still kind of a little bit like in that trauma, like you're still like kind of processing it. Like he took joy, but he couldn't we give too much. See, you can't do anything about what he did because it's already past, but you can learn what you did to create that dynamic. And sometimes, listen, sometimes it's like you walked into a room full of people that, let's just say, they don't like you. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't do anything. You just walked into the room. You can be like, I didn't do anything. I was just there. So participating. But you might say, well, I have to be there. But it's how you participate. It's not so much that you have to be in the room. It's how you deal with it. Karma is always about how you deal with it and what has happened. And so that you can actually say, listen, you didn't rob the full 38 years, because I'm sure some of those years were great years, Deanna. So, but unfortunately, there's also experience that were bad, but you can go out, you can heal yourself and be in a new relationship. Maybe you don't want to get married, but it doesn't matter. You can still be in a healthy relationship and have camaraderie without the fear. That's what you don't want to say, well, this person robbed 38 years and the rest of my life. And that's what I don't like. And that's why I said understanding how to work with the shame. And for you, like you said, because it's like you're still kind of in that in in that trauma, which, listen, 38 years married to someone is a long time. It's like that was obviously your life. That was your what you assume this is going to be the rest of my life. So whenever we see, well, this is not going to be the rest of my life, even if it was not a good experience, well, now I have to figure out what the rest of my life is going to be. And that's scary. But what I'm telling you is you can still recreate a experience that you want to experience. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. People that have experienced shame by being with a person that's made them feel that way tend to be like, I'll never be in a relationship ever again. And so, again, when we say that, well, guess what? In 10 years, believe it or not, you're not going to feel the same way. Maybe in 5 years, you may not. Or who knows, someone could walk in to your job or whatever, and you'd be like, wow, that person knocked my socks off. I can't even believe it. Like, I didn't think but I can't stop thinking about that person. And because you're not in charge of who you fall in love with. So, are you going to cut yourself off from it? No, you'd be like, no, I'm going to date. So it's not all or nothing, because again, the all is I go back into the relationship and I do the same shit that got me the same bad life experiences, because that's what I perceive, because I'm still holding on to the energy. It's about integrating the energy of shame and saying, I'm not those experiences. I'm actually where you're putting your energy today, how you're creating yourself today, what you're doing today, and that's where you're putting your time, your energy, your focus, and your money. If I was to pull the magician tarot card, that's saying you have all the ingredients that you need. Everything that you need is inside of you. Like, you don't need anything. The perception a lot of times with shame is, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. There's like a flaw, where really Spirit's saying, like, you're not flawed. There's actually nothing wrong. And so that's why I'm saying boundaries like are good, but you can get balanced with boundaries when you're really invested in your life, because then it's, I'd really love to, but I can't, I'm busy. It's like you're busy and you're sustaining emotionally, because that's why you got into that connection to begin with. You never got, and then so on an emotional level, and then you wound up in a relationship where you overgave, but people don't stay the same, especially if you have kids and other things. So, over time we change. And the thing with narcissists is they don't want you to change. They still want to be able to do that. So understanding what you did so that you can do something different. I also say a lot about my free stuff in my shadow healing coaching platform, but I also have a subscription. And if you need deep healing, it's only $25 a month. And I work with you on not a one-to-one, but we do it in a group. But the groups are small and really supportive, and people do vent because of that. My glasses look like Joan Rivers. Yeah. Yeah, okay. My uncovering is, well, I feel like you're too much into like him. And it needs to be more you, and not him, because that's all that he needs. That's what narcissists love. It's like you see who I am, but they get off on it. They get off on it because, and I know it bothers you. So now at the end of the day, you have to again detach and be like, I don't care. I don't care about you at all. I remove myself completely from you. That's what kills a narcissist. We were talking about shame. The topic was shame. And I have a few people on that, have been with narcissists and that have made them feel shame. And Deanna here, I don't know, can you see the chat? Because I know once this is over, like you don't see the comments, but like Deanna's from YouTube. Some of you guys are from Facebook, some of you guys are from YouTube. So, I was talking about shame, and I was talking about shame because it's a topic that, it plays out within our life in every single area of our life. And so what I noticed is that um, I know it's hard. It's hard because you didn't have anyone to talk to. You had no support. So there's like a need to talk about it. That's why I'm saying I do offer a shadow healing coaching program that I think that would be good for you because you can vent in there. And you'd see I'm not the only one that dated a person that did this, I'm not the only one, but that's what it is. It's a lack of support and being with somebody that does that and being so like affected by it. It's a natural thing to feel the way that you do. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying like he has too much of your energy. He already took too much. It's like at this point. So you don't want to talk about him anymore because it's like you can't go back in time. It's like you can only say, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. You don't get the rest of my life. You did whatever. It's like, and now it's about you. It's about believing that you're not born, believing that that you're not enough. Because staying connected that way, where it's about him, it's about him, it's about him. There's still this sense of you made me believe that I'm not enough. It's like that there's something wrong with me, and anything that was learned, really needs to be unlearned. It needs to be rewired and transformed. And the only way is to not feed it anymore. So, after we just covered everything about shame and the attachment styles and the nervous system conditioning, I just want to open up with a few questions for you guys to see, to see whether you understand, because understanding this intellectually is one thing, but integrating it into your real life is really where you're going to see changes in your life, right? And that's pretty much why you listen to a live stream like this, because you're looking for change within your life. Well, see, and that's the thing. So this would be good. Hobo, muggy bum, like that's your name, hobo, muggy bum. That's so funny. Okay, so you grew up with two narcissist parents. It was horrible. When you became homeless and relearned how to be happy, you saw the parental abuse. Well, it's again, that's the thing. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon, like, because I didn't have two narcissist parents, but I had one narcissist parent. The other was an alcoholic. You may think that that was narcissist, but he was actually nice, and that's it. Thank you, Deanna. That's so nice of you. Um, Yeah, like I'm trying, like this is a horrible thing to have to deal with. I mean, when you grow up being conditioned, if you grew up with a parent that was a narcissist, two parents, then you were conditioned in an environment not to like yourself, not to believe in yourself, to have tremendous amounts of shame. And understand your habits and your behaviorisms would be in alignment with that too, right? Because when we don't feel good about ourselves, we do bad things, right? We're not focused on creating our life. Hobo, I'm going to call you that, hobo. I'm going to cut it short. You'll you'll see that you didn't put the energy into creating yourself. You put it into surviving. And that's all you'll get is surviving too, and barely. So, my number one question: how do you know if you're operating from shame in your relationships? Think about that. All right. You usually know that you're operating from shame when your behavior changes based on the fear of being rejected or not chosen. So this is the telltale signs. All right. After age 20, you never went to a family function again. In my 40s and still live in a van, panhandle. Wow, but you have a phone? Do you like it that? Well, I mean, usually that's the thing. It's like like shame is a very bad thing. Shame is, yeah, it's not just a behavioral thing. So, like I said, what you'll see is like these are the telltale signs. And this is the most important thing. If you get anything from the live streams, it's going to be these, per se, questions. If you go to Straight Talk, they give you a free phone. If you buy a $45 plan, you a pretty good phone. Well, see that? I guess you learn again. And it's so funny because there's a lot of people that live off the grid, and I was actually thinking of that. Um, Before, like living in a van or living in a bus or living in and getting to see like the rest of the world. I don't know about the panhandling. I don't know whether or not I would be able to do that. But I mean, I could definitely live off the grid. I could feel like that. Don't have to worry about taxes. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, shame. It's like shame is pretty much is again is attack on how people perceive about themselves. So you'll have to rewind this because I talk about it in the beginning. You came on like halfway. So in order for me to get to the actual live stream, I want to get through these questions, like again, wrap this up. So it's about understanding like how do you know that you're operating from shame. This is most important for you, Deanna, like so that you don't repeat. And that's again when you are like when you are over explaining, over giving, people pleasing, or feeling anxious when someone just pulls away. So that's one sign. Shame does not always feel like I'm not good enough, as it's not always that. Sometimes it feels like urgency or anxiety or emotional dependency. Like you'll feel like it. An example is, let's just say you're around like your mother or a person of authority, but you were brought up feeling shamed all the time. And so they say, listen, we need someone to make 5,000 cupcakes for the PTA, and you found yourself saying, I'll do it, but you did not want to do that. It's like, but you're volunteering to do it. And it's like, so you were conditioned, like, I feel like I have to do this to be liked, to be accepted. And then you wind up being so resentful that you have to do it. That's an example of like the urgency, the anxiety, the emotional dependency. That's so the key question really is not just what are you thinking, but what are you trying to prevent right now? And usually that's rejection. Now, if the answer is rejection, abandonment, or disconnection, you're likely in the shame response. So you have to understand when you are. Question number two, can you actually heal attachment styles, or are they permanent? Attachment styles are absolutely not permanent. So you can change. And you can change because attachment styles are adaptive nervous system strategies, which means that they were learned in response to your environment and your emotional experiences. So anything that's learned can be unlearned through new experiences. That's why I told you, Deanna, going out, finding yourself, you two angel, and go out and create new experiences so that you can see yourself differently, and also to relearn. See, what changes attachment patterns is not just awareness, but repetition and regulation. So again, doing the attachment rewiring challenge, if you have not signed up on my school, sign up, because again, we do these exercises. You have to be consistent in order to experience safety in connections, safety in self-expression, and safety in emotional boundaries, because that's where you'll see you don't, like, if you're not expressing yourself, then people know it. People can sense it, people can feel it when you hold back, and because you don't feel safe. So you unconsciously, again, are teaching people. So this is why, again, doing somatic healing, body mind work, because that detachment, that disassociation, where it's like, I remember what happened, but I don't remember pieces of what happened. So there are behaviorisms in there that are just automatic. So doing the body mind work, doing somatic healing, doing, again, deep, like, breath work along with energy psychology or tapping, like, to interrupt that, is really important. you know it doesn't matter, the challenges are up all the time. It's like the school is open all the time. People learn in their own time with the challenges and with the pre-recorded stuff. But then I do these live streams, like, because, again, just putting up a challenge on attachment rewiring, well, it's like, what are we rewiring? And so we have to go into all the little topics such as shame, grief, victimization, betrayal, imposter syndrome. This is why we did a few of these topics already, because attachment rewiring isn't just one thing. This is why it's a 12-week challenge, and you do it in your own time. In the beginning, it's easy because you're just becoming aware of your thought patterns. You're just becoming aware and then interrupting the thought pattern. And then it gets harder, obviously, with nervous system regulation and doing certain exercises. So, the school is open all the time. The challenges are free. The live streams are free, and the oracle readings are free. If you need deeper, like, coaching, then I offer shadow healing coaching, which is done in a group, but it's a lot more affordable and it's accessible. And the reason why is because, listen, you're not going to heal severe trauma with doing coaching like for a week. It's an ongoing thing. You've conditioned your nervous system. You've conditioned the way that you think. You've conditioned the way that you feel. It's being consistent. Now, you don't have to wait a million years to see results, thank God. Oh, thank you, Kylie. I'm glad that you can, and you're from Australia. I want to go there. They always say that one day I'm going to go there to teach my oracle system. I'm hoping that's next. That's next on my thing. So it's got to be around winter there. Yeah, it's all relearning. It's all relearning. And I'm glad that you find it thorough. That's the thing. I hope you're doing the challenge, though. Remember, because that's how you're the healer of your life. So you have to, again, rewire. So, all right, we're up to question 3. I think I only did have 5 or 6. Let me see. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember all of them. Let me see what I got going on here. Yeah. So 3. Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable people? And you are not attracting them by accident. You are not choosing them because you do not know better. You are often drawn to emotionally unavailable people. Does anyone know why? Dee 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 dee. That's the Jeopardy music. Does anyone know? Bueller. No? No one knows? Okay. So you're often drawn to emotionally unavailable people because they activate familiar emotional patterns in your nervous system, which is the most important thing, which is why, again, nervous system regulation is really important. And you know this because if inconsistency was a part of your early emotional conditioning where a parent was there sometimes, but not um, there, well, that's what creates the insecurities. But it's again, what it is it activates the familiar emotional patterns in your nervous system. And what happens is that your brain prioritizes familiar because it equates familiar with what's safe, even though it's not what's safe a lot of times. So that's the thing. Insecurities come from that, though. So the goal, really, since it's insecurity, is not. I mean, but since the goal is to build yourself back up, you can't judge yourself because if you have a block, actually judging yourself, it makes that block even more difficult to heal. The goal is start to recognize the pattern while it's happening so that you can interrupt it before you actually attach to the person. And you can tell, again, when a person is hot and cold, like, hey, this person was like really nice to me. And then the next day they're not nice to me. They pretend that they don't know me, that type of energy. Or if someone's nice to you one day and they can be disrespectful to you another day, it's and what you'll notice a lot of times with people that are unstable is that they come on really emotionally. Oh, I'm so in love with you. And again, like they give and then they take it away. So there's always an essence of I want to get it back. The person's always trying to get the relationship back to where it started. So, again, just understanding that when the nervous system is triggered, your perception is going to be narrowed. So you're not seeing clearly. You're reacting from survival, and that's what you're reconditioning. So it's a big deal because your brain prioritizes survival. So you want to again take your attention back into your body. This is what somatic healing is, right? That you can train your body through your mind. Your mind can train your body. So we can feel anxiety in our body because we're like nervous. Well, you can actually recondition your mind by tapping into your body. So, which is when you're doing like these nervous system regulation exercises that I teach in the challenge. So, nervous system like gets triggered, you don't understand that the reaction, and then again you're not seeing everything. So instead of texting or over explaining, which is what people would tend to do when they're in a relationship and they get triggered, they try to get reassurance immediately. You can pause instead and regulate first, and then take your attention back into your body. Slow your breathing, ground your awareness. Then you want to ask yourself, what part of me feels unsafe right now? Like you want to become aware of it because the trigger is not about the present moment alone. Part of it is, but it's not alone. It's about the old emotional imprint that's being activated in the present. So another question 5, is shame something that you will always have to deal with? Now, shame may show up from time to time, but it does not have to run your life. The goal is not to eliminate emotions. The goal is to change your relationship with them. So right now, shame likely feels like an identity, which is what you need to integrate because it's not your identity for reasons that I spoke about all through this live stream. But over time, through awareness and regulation, it becomes something that you can observe instead of something that you become. So the shift alone changes everything. Because once you are no longer identifying with shame, you stop making decisions from it. And so another question is, how long does it take to rewire? And this is one of the most important questions. And it's the last question before I jump into doing an oracle spread. It's one of the most misunderstood. Okay. It's the most important and the most misunderstood. So rewiring is not something that happens overnight, but it also does not have to take forever, as I said. You get to see little wins along the way. So if you're doing the right work consistently, the timeline depends on three main things: your level of awareness, your willingness to actually interrupt your patterns in real time, and how consistent you are practicing regulation and reconditioning, which is why I said you have to do the challenges. Most people are trying to heal at the level of thought, but these patterns live in the nervous system. That means repetition is what creates change, not just understanding. You are literally teaching your body a new experience of safety, a new experience of connection, and a new experience of self-worth, the most important. So at first, it's going to feel uncomfortable because healing doesn't feel good. It's your reconditioning. So it feels uncomfortable to do things different. So, it may feel really unnatural, like you not chasing validation. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you get to see those wins, Deanna. Like, even though there is no timeline, you see wins along the way. It's like you do, because people wouldn't continue. You begin to feel different. You begin to notice things different. And the good thing about being in a relationship with a narcissist, usually you can't be in a second relationship with a narcissist. Like, people just can't go through it again because it's such a toll on the physical body for reasons that I explained in this live stream, and in other ones too. You know, that part, that woman like you are starting to be overwhelming. I don't understand what you're saying. Um, so the goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency. Again, so that if you're consistent, mastery comes in doing. And that's what it is. Um, Shame is what's scarring. Shame, this live stream was all about rewiring your nervous system, rewiring your thought patterns, rewiring so that you could have better relationships. If you found it overwhelming or scarring, it means that you need healing. You should join my shadow healing coaching program. It's only $25 a month, and it's body mind work, because anything that triggers you tells you that that's where you need healing. It's not about changing the other person. It's about changing yourself. That's what healing's about. So let's jump in really fast and let's do a little live stream oracle spread to see whether or not it shows up within the experience, whether we see shame play out within the cards. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Usually we do if we're talking, if we just did a stream on it, but let's see what the underlying energy is. The underlying energy is disappointment and fantasizing. So when you are in a connection with somebody that is like thinking a lot, like fantasizing, but there's disappointment there, you may be holding on to a cognitive dissonance. So Deanna, this might be for you. Like, again, where like there's still an emotional connection. However, like the person, like you can't really see them differently. And when that happens, you just wind up you wind up holding, when you're holding on to a cognitive dissonance, you're never going to get a good result, like I said. And that, because it's that little bit of the person can still feel that you're holding on. So let's look at the hidden truth and see. I wish I could share my good news with you. We will be together again. Ugh. And I look for you everywhere. Okay, already I don't like this person. And I'm going to say why. Because a person that doesn't want to call you, but looks for you everywhere, that assumes that you're going to be together again, but is holding back. So again, holding on to this cognitive dissonance of, I would like to be in this relationship, but I can't be in this relationship. And then being together with a person that is like, I don't really want to call you, but I want to bump into you because I already think that like we're going to be together. And that's, if you gave a lot and you showed up a lot in the relationship, like I said, the person is going to think that that they can actually have you whenever they want, even though it's not. Yes, it's energetically attached, and that's the issue, because there's still a sense of caring, and that's why I said you have to disconnect from that person. I can't change who I am to be with who you need me to be. And so the person will know, like, will go back into the relationship with no intention of actually even changing you, without even changing themselves, rather, because it's about access to you. I feel a connection to you like I've had with no other. And I couldn't express all of my feelings for you. So here you have it right here, that intimacy problem, where it's like, I can't emotionally tell you I can't be there for you, but I am. But having that connection to you like no other is going to be the problem, because the person that can't express to you is not grounded enough, and they have their own wounding. So there'll always be a fear of you not sticking around. You know what I mean? So it's like, in order to make you stick around, what would have to do is you would actually have to why does it keep doing that? You would have to like remove your energy from them altogether. Yeah, that's why I said that he's not going to change, and he doesn't think he needs to change. That's why I said I don't like this energy to begin with, because there's still a sense of, you still have a connection to me and I'm not going to change, but I still feel like I have access to you. And that's the narcissist. The narcissist is like, again, your property. It's like, I'm not going to change who I am to be with you. I look for you everywhere. However, I'm not going to pick up the phone. I'm not going to pick up the phone, and I'm not going to reach out appropriately, because I really don't want to talk about what I did or how I made you feel. I would just like to pick it up kind of where we left it off. And that's the issue. And that is what would make you mad too. And that's why I said the only power that the person has is by trying to influence your emotions, right? So when you remove yourself, they have no power. The shame is what keeps you there. That's why I was saying, it's like this person, like, they know that they did give you their heart. They wish that they could have, but they're not capable. And that's the issue. The person is like, says it right there. You see, I have feelings for you, but I'm not going to give you. And to be in a relationship like that, it's not like, it can't go anywhere, because the person's doesn't want to change. They don't want to change. And he even said it. The cards say that And you say that is what that person said to you. So what you have to say is, why did you attract that person into your life, is the best thing that you could do. Of course, that's like, because listen, when you detach from a person like that, they've already conditioned your nervous system. So the intermittent manipulation, all the things that this person did. So there's a sense of, I still own you. That's why I said, you talking about it and still feeding it, you're still in it. And that's, so this person doesn't have to change. And then when they're so bold like that by saying, I'm not going to change to, because I can't change to be with you. If someone loves you, I'm not saying that people change, but they compromise. It's like they become aware. The outright, I'm not going to change, but I still own you, is that when I said where that's how you, when you stay ruminating and talking about it, this person is like, I don't have to do anything because I still have you by in the palm of my hand. And that's why I'm like, remove yourself, stop talking about this person. It was like, because that's all that they have to do and they love it. And that's what makes you feel bad about yourself. It's about that saying again, integrating your personal wounds, and your personal wounds like are like those childhood wounds first, by saying, okay, why did I attract this person into my life, and what are the behaviorisms that I would have to heal. And so Spirit's saying, it's like, well, obviously there was trauma and lack of groundedness because there was no emotional support. It was confusing growing up in an environment, and the confusion could be having a parent that's there sometimes and not other times. So it's not a blame game, but we have to understand where did the attachment, like, why was this normal to me? And then saying, okay, it was because I had trauma, and it was due to the fact that the parent was inconsistent, and again made me not feel loved. And the self-sabotaging behaviorisms were all the ones that I just said before, which is overgiving, abandoning self, all the things that I said in this live stream. So, which we know was what you did. That is that type of connection can't sustain itself without one person overgiving and overdoing, especially if the other person is emotionally not giving. So you have to say what happens from that. So like there's that stress and burnout happens when that's because being in a relationship with someone, between them coming in and out and gaslighting, there's a lot of dopamine spikes. There's a lot of conditioning of the nervous system. And there's also that it's not just psychological, but it's a natural physical like thing that happens. So your adrenals are connected to your obvious nervous system. So having them come in and out and like triggers that survival mechanism with that fight flight. So your parasympathetic nervous system goes into survival, and you're dumping massive amounts of cortisol into your bloodstream, and so you're not really even present, because all that cortisol like that's being released will make you tired. Like the adrenals are working overtime, you actually get burnt out from being, so that's a telltale sign. And you can actually see it when you're in a relationship with someone like that. Like you begin, no matter how much sleep you get, it's never enough. You get dark rings underneath your eyes, your hair thins out, because your hair is an extension of your nervous system. So when you're in survival mode, you'll notice that your hair begins to fall out, and they block your solar plexus, and that's the gut intuition. So it cuts you off from, again, your internal guidance system, which disconnects you from God, which is why these codependent relationships that, again, that are this toxic, that keep you in a place of shame, well, there's negative entities attached to it. So that you can't just heal the psychological, you have to heal the spiritual as well. Because what happens is like fear of failure, and it's due to worthlessness. And again, humiliation. So being with a person that humiliates you and, it makes you feel worthless to the point. So this is what really needs to be healed. And so that's by recreating a life. So you have to get into a daily practice, recondition the nervous system as part of that daily practice, and then be interactive in your life by making sure that you have a lot of hobbies, interests, passions, because part of you never found who you are. And so you didn't even know that you weren't sustaining yourself. You got into a relationship that it felt good to give. It felt good to heal. These relationships feel good when you're in a connection with somebody. Because in the beginning, that narcissist is appreciative that you're doing all that. But over time, they begin to disrespect you. Because guess what? They're draining you of your energy, and they're seeing that their life isn't changing. And then they're going to blame you for it. And so this is why. That's why I said a few medical issues from this. So you need to then do also usually doing things like realkalizing your body. Doing the body mind work is gonna help you, but then you have to like recondition your body by getting up in the morning and having like celery juice or lemon water, warm lemon water. You have to realkaline your body. You've conditioned your body to, again, live in survival. So your digestion system doesn't run properly over time. Everything shuts down. Remember, if you're in survival mode, you're not digesting your food, you're not sleeping, your body is stuck in burnout. And so if it's then, you're not going to be able to absorb nutrients, and you're not going to be so this is why people get sick. So incorporating like an alkaline diet, and maybe only eating solid foods like twice a day or once a day, and then juicing the rest of the time, would be really important, because your nervous system is not working as well. You have to build it up, and you build it up by doing all the things that I talked about in the live stream. But I would definitely incorporate diet into that, because like I said, living in survival mode just creates that that acidity constitution. And then you'll notice your allergies are worse. You'll notice that your digestion's off, and you begin to get things like candida. You get things like adrenal fatigue, which is not going to kill you, but it shows that your body is now is compromised. So you have to create the balance, showing jealousy towards your small business. Anything that is going to create growth, this person's going to have a problem. It's like, because that means I don't have control. And that's why I said the more energy you put towards yourself, that like is going to make you feel better, but you also need the support, because clearly there isn't any, and having a person that close up that's not really going to be happy for you is not healthy, and you already live that. So the whole point is recreating a different environment for you. I'm going to leave off with one more card, which is, again, things that you can do, which we talked about already, but without pulling cards. But I always like to pull and say, okay, so what would we need to do? This was super long today. but I felt like you needed it, Deanna. So we look and we see Spirit says it's about you again ascending life, letting go of who you think you are, who you thought you were. Because who you thought you were was pretty much conditioned by your environment, and that's not really who you are. And you can actually let go of who you are by becoming let go of who you thought you were, who you were conditioned to think you are, and by becoming who you truly are. And that's what I said without even pulling the card. It's like, and you can like go with the flow of life, and it doesn't matter what is in your environment. It's about staying calm and at peace with yourself by, again, reconditioning your nervous system, because that's you have to get back to the breath and not be reactionary. And it's not about controlling the other person, it's about controlling yourself, and we already talked about that. We give less energy to that, and it's about focusing more on, again, the fact that you have limitless potential. Like, anything can happen. The only limits are the ones that you put on yourself. That's the biggest harm, because now that you're not in a relationship with him anymore, Deanna, it's like, it's about that. It's about saying, like, you don't have control over me anymore. Like, it's like I'm able to create the life that I want. It's like, and you show that again to the person that you let that life go by, having full control over your life. That's really what Spirit's saying, because you can't control the person. It's about controlling yourself, moving into transformation. So that's what transformation is. And then we leave off with open to the universe, that you discover your worth and your own abilities. This is what you have to do now, because you got into a relationship like that because you didn't know your worth. So you're discovering your worth and your abilities, and you have the confidence in your value and your potential, and you reclaim your inner power. You accept and love yourself completely. See, when there's fragmentation, that's when you know that you didn't love yourself completely. And a lot of times we're subconscious to it. We've suppressed those experiences of shame, and we're not walking around saying I'm shame. We're not aware of it. But it came out all in the behaviorisms, which again we spoke about on this live stream. So, and Spirit says, just know that when you accept yourself and love yourself completely, then that's when you really are open to the divine light of the universe. You're open to, having God work through you. If we hate ourselves and we're not accepting to who ourselves, then we're too busy creating like facades of who we want people to perceive we are, instead of really who we truly are. So it's all about, like I said, learning to love yourself completely. And that's by becoming yourself, because you're not shame. But unfortunately, when we go through those experiences, we take on that energy. And like I said, it comes out in every single area. And the most effective one is the physical part. All right. This was super long today, so I'm going to wind it down. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me. Thank you, Deanna. I hope that your life, I hope you got something out of this. And it's all about being on that journey. If you have not signed up to be part of the school, sign up. It's free. Do the challenges. Be interactive with me. You can tell me how you're making out with it when we're doing the live streams. You can tell me, again, on the wall. Because it kind of looks like a little bit like a Facebook page. I post up a little clip of what you're going to learn every single day, the challenges in the classroom. So you'll see, and if you coming in when the challenge is already, it doesn't matter, because the challenge stays up. So you might have to start at one. We are in week 3, but each week there's a different challenge inside that challenge. And like I said, this segment is 12 weeks long. So I'm doing live streams every few days, I think every other day, on a different topic. If there's a topic that you want to learn, just again put it up in the school platform. Thank you so much. Again, I hope to see you sign up for my challenge, and take control over your healing. Take control over it. Thank you again for sharing your energy with me. And until next time, be true to you. I will be on YouTube at 9 o'clock on the Virgo channel and 11 o'clock on my Scorpio channel tonight. So maybe I'll see you later. Thank you so much, Angel. It was good seeing you as always. And thank you, everybody else, for sharing your energy with me today. Hobo, Muggy Bum, and Buffalo Billy, and Ghost Grows. I hope that your pot plants wind up coming back and doing better. All right, I'm going to run. Thanks again for sharing. Bye-bye.